Hello, all, and welcome back to the fifth episode of the FPL Pulse Talk. We are in the final leg of our tri series of Defender, Midfield, and now the Striker podcast. We've been bringing you the insights and the detailed analysis about each and every position to make a stable draft and get into the FPL season from the get go. And with that, let me check with my boys. How are we doing, boys?
Awesome, I'm doing good. I'm just tinkering with my drafts every hour. There's some new information coming in. Uh, you know Players changing positions in terms of priority in the club and whatnot. Preseason games happening all over. So yeah, it's getting exciting. It's getting real.
Yeah, even I've
Dimash?
been observing all the preseason friendlies very keenly, just to see which players are going to be starting for sure and which players are performing well and whatnot. I mean, there's a game live right now as well that even Suraj has been following, and I've been looking at it too. But yeah, let's see how it goes. Really excited for the upcoming days and the season beginning.
Yeah, I'm doing good. This summer transfer, there were a lot of strikers going here and there, going across the clubs, and I think today's pod is gonna help us to clear what we should look for in terms of striker. So eagerly
Yeah.
waiting for that.
Yeah, with less than 10 days remaining and still the window is still hot. I think there are going to be a lot of last minute changes that in the team that might uh, push us to restructuring our drafts. But yeah, we'll be there. And let's hope for the best. So moving forward, yeah, some housekeeping exercise. So this season, FPL Pulse Talk has collaborated with FFS Scout for all their data and insights. We are actively using their members area, which keeps getting better every season. And this year also, there is a brand new feeler to that. There are fixture ticker, there is a team planner, there are recalculated the CBIT points, so you can even with the latest updates of DEFCON and everything, you can be on par with every change that has happened and get insights to the data with all these changes into play. And the best part right now is that there is 47% off. So if you want to purchase this plan, you can go to the description below. We have an FPL Pulse link, which will take you and you can enable this offer for yourself. All right, so let's kick into the striker pod and we'll do with our similar theme of how we've done in our previous midfield and defensive podcast by looking at the fixtures. So, high level, what we are looking at, similar to the teams we looked in the defensive side of things, which teams are standing out in terms of the attacking fixtures. So, barring the teams that are always fixture proof and consistent, like Liverpool, cities, they always tend to perform even no matter which fixture is there, no matter what opponent is there. But even without that, if we want to look at the some middling sides and the team that had picked up pace later end of the season, I would like to begin with Chelsea there. Chelsea have reinforced from multiple angles and multiple position. There is a fresh air around the club about the strikers they have onboarded in terms of João Pedro, Liam Delap, and also the other position where the prospect of Xavi Simons could be there. It's now being considered that where with Palmer pay, but the team in overall structure looks has depth and everything that they can. If you look at the fixture, they will be easily navigating these fixtures. They are starting with Crystal Palace home, which is obviously a London derby, and from the last year battle that we saw between these two games which went till the last minute. That is one of the key fixtures that one would look into. Then again, the first three fixtures are London derby for them. So they're going Crystal Palace, West Ham, and then Fulham. So it'll just paint a picture for them. And coming out of this run with flying colors will like push the momentum in Chelsea's favor for the rest of the season. I feel. If you look at the picks that we are currently looking at, Palmer, Pedro, and even the defensive side, Kukure and Sanchez are currently all hot picks. Now the other team which is kind of changed in terms of the flavor of their manager.
Yeah, just want to add something here when we're discussing in terms of strikers specifically, Varun. So only the only name or the player being considered is Pedro right now, but I would not be as hot as the whole community seems to be because we don't know how Chelsea will set up at the beginning of the season. There is going to be minutes distribution between Pedro, between Delap and Nicholas Jackson. Don't forget, we still have him. Unless some other team comes in to swoop for him, then it might change. Even then, I feel Pedro can only be probably guarantee you about 60 minutes every game. So if you're okay with playing, 60 minutes of Pedro in your team, you sure you can, go with that.
Yeah, I think when we get into the details where we have is as one of our picks, these details will obviously help in balancing out and comparing it with the other strikers of similar price range. So thanks, Aman, for that call out. Now moving towards another team, which didn't do well in the Premier League, like they were one of the worst team if I talk about the PL season, like one of a weird outlier season for them, although they are a middling side in Spurs. Now they changed Ange Postecoglou and they've onboarded Thomas Frank. They've already reinforced with Kudus. Heung-min Son, one of their legend, has left the club. So now I'm bringing them up because they have certain players in them. Although just a pointer there, Madison is also injured. But given all the conditions that are happening and the external factors of player leaving, Solanke has come out as one of the hottest pick right now, and I'm seeing is a template pick. Most of the people on Twitter community are also like really bullish on him. If you look at the start, barring the City fixture, which again I'll mention that Thomas Frank did a double on City last year. Barring the City fixture, they have a very good run till game week 6. So anyone looking at their attackers, they can would. But if we have to be very sure, I think only Solanke comes as a good pick over there. I won't mention more about Liverpool and Man City because we do have their players in the upcoming slides and we'll be talking more on them. But yeah, they have a decent run, barring a couple of fixtures over there. But we can obviously pick them. Just trade-off here is like the picks that if we are going with Haaland, then there you'll have to compromise on the other side of your team. So these are the two standout fixtures that are appealing to me, and I've called it out at the start because I'm looking at these strikers. The other striker, which is kind of a set and forget, is the other third team with the good fixture is Aston Villa on the second number in our ticker. So here, I mean, if we are looking at and we in our midfield pod, we also discuss if you look at the XG share. 40% of the XG share of overall XG that Aston creates is between Watkins and Rogers, and Watkins again has a larger share of that. If let's say that theme continues, and we'll be discussing Watkins in detail because again he's also become a hot property and been spoken about in the community on lens by everyone and is kind of becoming a set and forget pick for probably for this particular season. If you look at the fixture run, Newcastle, it would be a high goal scoring game if I have to treat it that way. And then all the other fixture, Brentford have depleted. Crystal Palace is obviously a good fixture to attacking wise. They play a very open football. Everton again is a challenging one because they're going to Everton away. That is there, but then Sunderland and Fulham. So none of the fixture are extremely screaming of any top side or anything that they might face any resistance. And a striker like Watkins can obviously score in all of these games or at least provide single attack return in all of these games. So this is my high level understanding. I mentioned these three teams primarily because I really like the feeler of the attackers here. But open to you guys if you want to mention any fixture or any player standout and we might be discussing later.
Yeah, Bournemouth is another team. I think I've multiple times called out this team now. But the only problem is we don't know how to fit a Bournemouth attacker here. The only probable option is maybe Ivan Elson amongst the strikers, and he's 7 million. So he can come in there, but in place of whom is something that you'll have to figure out. Also, we've not seen anything explosive in preseason from Bournemouth. So even though they have the fixtures on their side post the game week 1 fixture, I think they're one to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Other
Wha-
teams like Everton have a fixtures, but they like I don't see any standout
I
striker
think
with them, but Saring Barry as well.
we have forgotten about Forest though. Wood is there very much in the
Yes.
Oh,
consideration.
yes.
Yes, I think Nottingham Forest has a good run of fixtures, and yeah, I mean, if you look at that again, Brentford, Crystal Palace, West Ham, barring Arsenal, and then Burnley and Sunderland. So I think, I mean, would be a very good option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Ham as
Yeah,
well.
he's
If you see from an attacking point, I think they will score against Chelsea and probably Nottingham Forest.
they've onboarded Callum Wilson. So again, like competition to Bowen. I don't know which position he'll play this season. He played last 15 game of the like 15 times in last season he played as a forward, so that's why FPL has reclassified him. But yeah, again, thanks for the good pointer. I think it was in my head that which striker I'm missing in that range, price range. But yeah, NFO has good fixture and then
One
obviously
of
he has
the biggest dilemmas for me is becoming is City. I don't think they have a tough fixture run, except for the Arsenal, which is in game week 5. They are a team who can score multiple goals against all of these teams before, like except for maybe Arsenal. And post that, you have Burnley, which is like a prime fixture. You probably would want to even think of triple captaining Haaland in that fixture. It's that good a fixture. So it's just becoming very tricky to understand which attacking player do we keep from City. Keeping Haaland in your draft makes the draft weaker elsewhere because you would not want to go without Salah. So it's Salah Haaland draft itself weakens every other position. So yeah, that's something I think. This again could be one of those situations as last year. When the ones who did well were people with both Haaland and Salah actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we go with that, like even Salah is 2 million higher like than previous season, so it becomes even tougher to now accommodate the players. But yes, there's a good call out on City, but obviously like free hit game week 6 is becoming popular, so that's primarily to target triple up of Man City, but we'll come there when we are into the season. Yeah, so just Aman, you mentioned about including City. So I'll come to the structure and high level themes that we are seeing from a front three level is to nail it down or to concise it, I've seen three kind of formation or from a striker perspective from a price point. We are seeing something like all three 7.5s, like at least two 7.5s and one 6.5 or 5.5. This gives you enough flexibility to have a very highly loaded midfield or even a DEFCON or a high owned like two 6 million defenders also. So this is one of the themes, and there are popular picks in this particular pricing. When we talk about 7.5, there is competition between Wood, Solanke, Pedro, and there is 7 million Evan Nilsson, as you mentioned. So there are enough good picks for this particular pricing that people are thinking that why not we go with this position and not buy anyone beyond that. And it gives utmost flexibility. The second theme, and it seems to be a very popular one, is that you have one 9 million. It could be Watkins or Gyökeres. Watkins seems to be more famous in terms of the picks right now. Then you have one 7.5, so one 9 million, one 7.5. And then you're playing with the third position where you're thinking whether somewhere 6.5 Welbeck or 5.5 Piro or something even below Gui is becoming popular or 4.5. So the third position is being the most talked about, and probably we'll try to clear out some dust from that particular position and maybe come down to what kind of structure that is there. The other pick popular is obviously the one with the Haaland would be there, but then you'll compromise on other section and maybe you'll have to go without Salah. But the other pick popular, and I'm seeing this as one of the most differential ones, is backing Gyökeres and Watkins both. So you are going with two 9 millions there, and the other are Salah and Palmer obviously. So you do have kind of a formium structure, I would say, this particular draft, but obviously it is a very thin defensive line. It requires a thin goalkeeper, like 4.5s and 4 mils, and then rest of the midfield is not also very strong. So it's over reliance on putting your eggs in a one basket kind of situation. But these are the kind of flavors that are there. I'm more reliant on one 9 million, one 7.5 million, and then juggling for the third position because it if I have to talk about formation, 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 kind of seems to be the most popular one. And this kind of structure seems to be flexible, even if you have to rotate your funds, even if you see certain players coming down in the line in the picture. Because let's say three 7.5s or similar price point strikers, if you had, it will not allow you to move to someone like a Watkins or a Gyökeres if that kind of pick comes out there. Like in game week 7, you'll have to obviously use your chips. You have that flexibility, but someone who likes to play in a stable format, not much many rotation, these are the themes and flavors that are coming in.
Yeah, interesting.
We
I'd also like to call out a couple of other things. Like, you could actually put a very, very strong team with both Gyökeres and Watkins. You could go with a 4.5 Geo after, beyond them and rely on a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2 kind of a structure every week, depending on, rotation between a defender, like the fourth defender and the fifth midfielder, whichever has the better fixture. So that is actually a good one. And one more interesting and a differential strategy that is coming up is with going with all low priced midfielder forwards itself. Like maybe you have just one 7.5 and then a 6.5 and a 7 kind of thing going on, right? Like you
Yeah,
can have a Wood and a Ivanilson and a Welbeck, right? Or a Piru, and that frees up a lot of money for your midfield and defense. You could go big at the back. You could go with anybody in the midfield. Basically, you can have
Yeah,
funds for players like Cunha, you can have funds for players like Words, all together in the same team. By the way,
right.
so yeah, those are also, but these are again differential setups. So
Yeah. I
interesting,
think we,
spicy.
yeah. I think we forgot about United. I know the fixtures, like first fixture Arsenal and then City in between might be tough, but the reinforcement that they had and plus Sesko news that we are getting in, I'm sure I'll have one United player down the line in the season. Currently, I'm confused between whom to pick, because Bruno plays at back and then front. I'm not sure if I should pick Buemo or Cunha or Sesko if he comes, but yeah.
Suraj, I think it is only fitting you should have Mbumo in your team.
I will definitely have him if things go that way that he starts scoring.
Yeah.
But we never know. You can
But yeah, I mean,
players get United fever and all the top players might stop scoring.
what do you say, Vimash? Like, I would have expected you to be the one to jump on this United player wagon in some
No, I
manner.
mean,
I'm sure you.
I'm just waiting for confirmation for Sesko, and then probably I'll say a lot in the next pod or something if we get a this thing. But I mean, with Suraj's point also, I mean, the front line right now, you have Bumo and Cunha up front, and then if Sesko also comes in, I mean, just Cunha and Bumo did 35 goals between them, and United scored a total of what 40, 45 odd goals. So in the entire season. So I mean, with the reinforcements and the new signings, Ahmad playing here behind. I mean,
Yeah.
I think this might be a turnaround season, hopefully for United with the kind of signings. Because before this, all the kind of signings we've had have been just like frustrating. And I mean, even as viewers, as fans, we kind of knew like there wasn't much potential for some of the signings, and they seem very like dismal. But this time around, these are like very exciting and promising signings. So let's see how it goes.
All right. Let's move to the next section. So we are starting with how the last season went from what the overperformers and the underperformers were. So what we've done is we've broken down this section into two halves. Like first looking at the first half, who started the season strong. Just to give clarity on what we are seeing on our screen right now is, so this is XG delta on the y-axis. They're basically whether they scored any striker scored more goals than what is XG are on the upper side of this x-axis, and everyone who underperformed their xg are on the lower side. And similarly, if you look at the left hand side, we have the x-axis is all xa, so we have xa negatives on the left hand side from 0 to the center, and then going forward. How we are interpreting xgi here is like based on the darkness of all the circles over there in our scatter plot. So the darker or the bigger the circle, that means more xgi was shown by this player in the first half of the season. Now, as we can already see, like the standout person here is João Pedro. Now, in terms of like his XGI is not that great. If you look at it's just around zero point 0.5, but he's really outperformed on that particular metric. I know there is an angle of penalties here, but I have another slide to back it up that why this particular part of Pedro's season is an highlight, and we should not like just overlook this particular part. The other key picks there are like Watkins. We are seeing him as a template pick, but if you look at the first part of the season, he underperformed his XG and overperformed in the XA. So obviously, one of the return he was obviously doing more, but obviously one the expectation from his that he's a proper goal scorer, so that is there. Solanke also is over there, although the first 7 games of Spurs were really good, but then the form depleted like anything. Then the similar theme was also displayed by Haaland over there. We remember for the first 6 game week before the wild card started kicking in, Haaland had already scored 10 goals in the first 6 games, and then he started averaging back to the mean, right? Like he started going back to the XG that was there. He was highly overperforming in the first 5 games, and then that also started declining. Isak has been consistent. Like we've seen him overperforming in the first half, and the second half also he seems to be in a similar position. So all these are there. But one of the fan picks and the favorite is Chris Wood. And if you look at the XG overperformance there, it's in the range of zero point 0.3. So this is one of the standout piece. Obviously, there is no XA potential there, so he's obviously there. But if you look at from just a pure goal scoring and the high conversion that he offers from even half-baked chances, that is truly high, and that is truly commendable from a 34-year-old. What he brought into the game last season. So to give you a high-level overview of what the first half of the season for this player look for the strikers look like, and how this pivoted when we moved to the second half. So, Suraj, if you could move to the next part, and then I'll open the forum for discussion with everyone. Now, if you look at the major changes that has happened there, is Watkins. Watkins have directly moved from one of being the under XG par to an over XA again and over XG also. Now this is in the range of zero point 0.2. So his delta was considerably higher than like he scored considerably higher goals than what was expected. Havertz also improved. The one of the reasons for improving is there was less influence of Saka in the game. It was Merino or Havertz which were reliant. Arsenal were completely reliant on performing. Strand Larson also picked up pace in the second half of the season. Initially, in the first half, he was under the shadows of Cunha. We don't have Cunha here because he's been classified as a mid, but we've tried to keep all other picks that were key this season. And the second half, why I'm like I think now people are realizing the advantage of keeping Bowen is like if you look Bowen, this is like Chris Wood plus like João Pedro like performance in the second half combined both because he's doing well on XA, which is obviously his first skill, and then XG as well. He's performing well. So the second half of West Ham, obviously when Potter came in, he has clearly outperformed most of the players over there. I know the XGI overall number is not that great. It's around the range of zero point 0.4 and zero point 0.5, and we have a detailed data for that as well, which we'll bring up. But just gives an overview of how it is. Isak still stays in the same position. Chris Wood also says Haaland back from the injury also started kicking in, but he missed considerable number of games over there. Ivan Nilsson, I would like to point, like, I feel this player is a trap, although Aman was mentioning over there that the XG higher is on the chance of the penalties, and Vimersh also has a very key stat that I'll let him hold on to till we move to the next slides. But Ivan Nilsson, if you see, is underperforming XG, and he was underperforming both section on the first half of the season also. So a point of caution for you, Oman, there. Visa also,
He
like,
is not
underperforming.
in my draft. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah. So just yeah, high level. I mean, you guys have any thoughts, any particular player that stands out for
I
you in
think
both of the?
we missed Mateta.
Yeah,
Second half of the previous season was a amazing performance by Mateta and Crystal Palace in general. Like people were on Eze for the longest time from the start of the previous season, but he didn't show up, and then he did, and in some way in the second half. So
yeah,
yeah, Crystal Palace is also a very interesting team, and they're having a fabulous preseason. By the way, Mateta has been scoring goals left, right, and center,
yeah,
and even Eza has been amazing in preseason. So, I mean, to me, Crystal Palace is a team which is absolutely going under the radar, being overlooked because of the first three
yeah.
fixtures.
Yeah. So
Right.
his XGI was top four in the second half. It was in the top five, I would say, in the second half of the season. He picked up. He kind of averaged down to like his XGI in the first half of the season. It's not like he underperformed, but he was on par with the expectation he had there. But obviously, the XG part in the second half is like he was clearly standing out there. Vimash, you were mentioning.
Oh no, I was just mentioning like in general about this graph. It's a very interesting graph in terms of how it's placed and how to interpret it as well. So ideally, um, anybody overperforming is good, but also there are cons to it, right? It could be a one-time thing, and people underperforming is not necessarily bad too, right? So ideally, if you look at this graph, the ideal place to be would be close to the intersection of the axis, right? Somewhere close to the intersection of that. That would essentially mean that you are scoring round about as many goals as are expected of you, and you're also assisting, giving assists around the same number as is expected of you, right? So some of these like kind of caught my, like if you look at Haaland also in the second half of the season, I think he had around 8 goals out of the 22. He scored 14 in the first half, right? So even looking at this, that means that those 8 goals he scored, essentially he's in the overperforming section, only slightly in the overperforming section in terms of xg. So
So
that is, yeah.
yeah, what you're saying is right. That is the ideal scenario of doing it. But
Yep.
if you look at like how we've color coded this is like let's say you are in the center, but your
Yeah.
volume should also be high then. If
Right.
your volume is not high, like you are light colored like Jimenez,
Yeah.
but you are not performing up to the stand, like let's say you're meeting those smaller targets,
Correct.
that's not a standout thing. If you are XG is higher, like you are dark colored. So that's why Isak and Haaland, these are dark colored, Mateta dark colored because the volume was high and Haaland, Isak and Mateta even outperformed that. So that's a clear good sign from when you're looking at a goal scoring lens. And Suraj, if you can go back to the previous slide again once. If you look at Haaland performance, again his volume was high and he was kind of centering down to his whatever was expected out of like from the XG lens. If you look at, he kind of normalized back to that particular position. But
Yes,
if I talk about Watkins there, then you will call this as something like, yes, he has potential because XG, his volumes are there clearly in terms of the numbers, but
right.
he underperformed over there. But yeah, that's one way to interpret how you see overperformance, whether you say that he'll regress back to the mean, or whether you see that, hey, he's a high converting player, even with the half baked chances, is obviously the two lens of looking at this view.
Correct. But that also added to that point, like the darker the color is, the higher the expected goal involvement. So here you can see Haaland's expected goal involvement is high, but he's underperforming. So essentially, he's not converting the chances he's getting or stuff like that. If you go to the next slide, his expected goal involvement is still high, right? But he's kind of overperforming. So that kind of begs us to think as well that City's performance as a whole must also have dipped for him to be here on this part of the graph, right? If
Yeah,
you look at the previous graph, his goal involvement is high, but he's underperforming in both XG and XA. So he's being fed, but he's not kind of like converting them. But in the next one, if you go for Haaland, he's being fed he's being fed less than, right? Or he's still being fed more.
he's like,
No, it's
if you
still
look at
being
the
fed
XGI
more.
curve,
XGI is more. So XGI
Yeah,
yeah,
in both cases are dark. So it's
right,
not about feeding, it's about him converting. But a
right.
general stat about XA actually is usually your assist to XA ratio is higher. So you do more assists than what XA tells you about. Well, that's how the
the
mapping of
metric
XA
is.
happens. Yeah, metric is. One interesting thing that I wanted to point out was NDI. NDI in both scenarios doesn't scream like a player to have in the team, to be honest. He is a good pick from an Everton team, but from an overall FPL perspective, I'm not sure. Like look at
Yeah,
1 to 19 versus 20 to 38.
he performs pretty much along the expectation.
Yeah,
So whatever, say, I think last year his XG was overall some six odd goals, and he actually scores that
Yeah.
many only.
But he had
But
penalty
yeah.
goals too, right?
Problem
So
was,
and
yeah,
then he had a few penalty goals.
that's
with
why
the
his XG delta
penalty,
is high.
with the penalty as well, his XG delta is not screaming as such.
But again, I think we need to consider, right? You're spending some 6.5 million in a
Yeah.
player. Like, are you even getting the best value out of that 6.5 million?
Right.
I
Mm.
think it begs some, understanding a little
Yeah.
more,
The
deeper
only
Yeah.
reason
perspective
I
on
think
that.
the why he's becoming that lucrative pick is, one thing is less competition right now. I don't see that competition in his place. Minutes are sorted. So you are going with a minute sorted pick who's on penalties and also gets into really good position. So the other factor with
Yeah.
him is he gets into good position. That is where like people are not reading lot into these numbers. But yeah, I do get the point. Like he's been overblown from more than the proportion what he has shown last season. So
They
that's
have
there
also
somewhere.
purchased a striker. I think
Barry.
Barry is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't know what's the impact it's going to have. Maybe if he becomes like a whether they play a two striker system or he becomes more of a winger or a advanced forward. I don't know how it impacts the conversion. But I mean, he's in their plans for sure. Like he's a much touted player and the player that Everton got last season, and they really want to build a team with him. So he will be there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the next section and I'll just briefly go over it and to show you some key insights. Again, split into two, game week 1 to 19, and why I wanted to point out the Pedro pointer here again was like, if you see he overperformed his XG and XA, right? And if you look at the goals XG and the non-pen goal XG, basically he got no penalties. It was pure non-play on like outfield play creation that he did in the first half of the season, scoring, getting 5 assists and 4 goals, which was purely like, and from a Brighton side, I would expect these numbers to go up when you are uh, playing for a side like Chelsea, clearly outperforming everyone over there. Chris Wood, we obviously know about. So this is one standout metric that I'm already seeing from him. The other player, like who has like, if the other player that has been spoken a lot about, also performed really well in the first half of the season, and I know for a fact, no, like he went under the radar, is Bowen again. Like if you see the output in terms of 6 goals and five, oh sorry, 6 assists and 5 goals, he has 11 attacking returns in 18 matches. And if let's say he's been picked for the key correct fixtures by anyone, he's more or less at par with what the Vimarsh was putting as an ideal scenario if we are interpreting that graph. So these are like the key things that you can look at. We'll be putting this entire view on our Twitter to like give a snapshot of what we are looking at. We filtered down and highlighted the players that are being most discussed. And obviously, if you look at picks like Stan Larsen, again very famous, he's again becoming a pick, could be a template pick for that third position role. So the key numbers, what anyone looks at from an attacking lens, this provides a good view. And obviously, this was pivotal in the providing the view that we just showed you in terms of the overperformance and underperformance. Yeah, just wanted to put that word out. Right. Moving forward, this is a similar view of 20 to 38. We saw Bowen overperforming, so assist again 10 assists for the whole season now, and again 8 more goals. And he's a minutes monster also, right? Any other standout call out boys if you want to from this particular table?
I think
I'm not sure
Visa
if
in
it.
general.
Yeah, Visa
Visa
is a
has a
great
huge,
pick.
huge NPXC. I think he's the highest NPXC in this list.
Yeah,
But he had 19 goals, all of them are non-penalty goals. And I mean, he is kind of going under the radar right now. But I guess that's also because of the fixtures and kind of the fact that Brentford, I mean, the management has changed now, and some players have also left. But I think we should be keeping an eye on him as well as the season progresses. So
yeah.
Same
he'll,
So
same goes
with
for Larson actually.
yeah,
Similar thing. Cunha leaving the team. We don't know how much impact it's gonna bring.
yeah, they
so
got.
I
Yeah.
would pick another player in the same bucket where their partner is leaving is Elanga. So Elanga provided 10 assists to Chris Wood last season. So that's one thing to consider there as well. So like when we are going with these pick where they were obviously aided by the good player they were also playing along with, that's one consideration when you're looking at these XG delta or XA numbers over there.
Yeah, that's a very key point actually, I feel. Something we are we tend to forget that, the players wouldn't have actually gotten into those goal scoring positions if not for those quality assists that they got throughout the season, especially with Wood. You were bang on, Varun, on this point. All those crosses and Wood just scoring out of nowhere with, zero point 0.1 XG of from that shot, and the
Yeah,
shot getting converted from that header, right?
yeah,
The whole match he would just take one shot at the goal and it would be on target and a goal. So I would, I am getting cold feet on Wood for the same reason. I am not really keen. I'm not sure how Forest is going to manage their attack without Alanga and without those quality forwards. They managed to keep Gibbs White, but they've also lost Alanga. So yeah.
yeah. They've
There's
hired Endoy,
yeah.
but obviously if he doesn't have a PL pedigree, Elanga has a huge bag of experience with him. So that's a word of again.
It's
These
kind of
are the point. Yeah. Yes,
it's kind
Vimash.
of symbolic that Wood is scoring for Forest. So a lot of wood.
Good one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think other than that, I think we have like Havertz is a minute thing there, but like I wanted to point out his minutes per start. But again, we are not going with him because of the signings that have happened. I think he'll be the second choice. I've seen his pictures. He's buffed up now, but I don't know how much, or was that an AI image? I'm not sure. So,
But he did have 7 goals in the first 19 games, and then he just had two after that. So he
yeah,
had a very strong first season, and he was the highest scorer for Arsenal, by the way. Arsenal for the first time in 100 years went without a striker scoring 10 goals or more.
I hope.
Without
I
any
hope
player, I
next
think.
season is
Any.
also like that.
Without any player, yeah, without any player scoring 10 goals or more. Like Havertz was at 9, Saka even with his injuries was at 8. So I think Gyökeres will do maybe 7 or 8 this time. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to next then.
Yeah.
Vimash, you want to take this up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this one is again I mean, pretty straightforward visual that you see here. It's big chances versus big chances scored, and I mean the usual suspects are there: Haaland, Isak, and Watkins. But again, that you see over there, he's converted a lot of the chances that he got. So he is a potent striker, a potent finisher. You can see there's Pedro as well, who scored a lot of the big chances. And then obviously here and there, you'll see, I mean, even interpreting this graph, you can see Calvert-Lewin and Nicholas Jackson. I mean, they had a lot of big chances, but they were not able to convert, which was the story of their season, right? I mean, especially with Calvert-Lewin, he had a lot of
Mhm.
big chances, but he couldn't convert any of them. So
Right.
So
just
one thing which pops out to me again is what we discussed about Wood. He had like an average of big
correct.
chances and scored as well.
Yeah.
So he has been relying on those half chances actually,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
he's just been he's absolutely overperformed by the way on those. So a word of caution again.
Yeah. One
Yes.
one question that I have is, what is the size of the sphere and darkness?
That's the number of goals.
Total
Just the
number
number.
of goals?
Yes, total number of goals.
Okay, okay.
That's the darkness. There's nothing to the darkness. It's just to go with the theme of the other graphs as well.
But
No,
why
but
is
then
Haaland
Haaland
not?
should have had
Yeah,
much darker color, no?
yeah.
No, the darkness is not on the goals. It's just the size. The
Okay.
size is
I
the number
think
of goals.
I think conversion is the efficiency. So like
Oh,
darkness is the
so
efficiency.
okay, okay. Darkness has nothing to do with. Okay.
Darkness is just the
Anyway,
color. It's just a color gradient. So Haaland had one goal less than Isaac, right? So that's why the circles are almost similar. And then Bisa had 19. So
Okay.
I
So
think
only the
the
size
size of the
matters. Okay.
circle is the
number of
number,
goals. Yep.
depicting the number.
Yep.
Right, right. Makes sense.
Yep.
let's
Okay.
move forward.
Yes, so this was another interesting thing that was there. So this is a graph that says shots from set plays versus total set piece goals. So this kind of also the idea behind this visual was to also understand the fact that which strikers are good at converting set pieces. So when we do these analysis of fixtures and when we choose our players that we're gonna like have for like certain fixture runs and stuff, we also need to look at sometimes like which teams concede from set plays and which teams are good at converting set plays. So this particular graph kind of also helps you in that way. Like you can see Visa had the maximum set piece goals, and Evan Nilsson also had the maximum set piece goals, like right after, like 6 and 4. And Jimenez had the maximum shots from set plays, but he was not able to convert any of it. So similarly, Isaac. So you can see that Isaac might not be as good from set pieces as he is from open play, right? So this is just another viewpoint to look at in general. And yeah, I mean, see, you can look at Wood. There are 3 set piece goals. He had a lot of shots from set plays as well. Again, he's in the middle of it, so he didn't waste too many chances. He got some of the chances and converted them into, like, I mean, out of 10 or 11 odd chances, he converted 3. It's kind of good considering he scored like 15, 20 odd goals in the season. So
Let's move to our stand picks now. So we'll move with the flow of first talking about the premium picks, and let's start with the key player last season. I mean, we saw how his trajectory shifted. Like first 7 games were really good, scored 10 goals. Overall in the last season, which is called as the bad season for Haaland, he still scored 22 goals, right? And if you look at the shots on target, he had 59 shots on target, which is just second to Salah in the league, which is he's all like Salah is also on 59, so tied at first place. And he's still starting with the favorable fixture. The only caveat is like if you see the first 4 fixtures are green here. Um, his ownership was also split. Like I won't say like very template, but obviously the Twitter doesn't seem to be very keen on having Salah and Haaland draft together. But the only thing is like if you're going with Haaland now, it's like you'll have to break your team and obviously compromise certain position where you can obviously 2 players which you can get at the price of 14 million will obviously give you same or maybe more returns and must be easily rotatable as well to maximize those returns on a longer run as well. If you look at his double digits all last season, I mean 5, that also included 3 hat tricks. That was also in the first 6 or 7 weeks of the last season. So after that, the performance declined. But I would still say like he can again return to a season where he's giving like 40 attacking returns for the season, including both goals and assists. So again, he's a good pick. But obviously, if you go with him, then you probably not go with Salah and like or just a different approach to the game, which obviously will work for you. Obviously, he's not a player that he's not going to perform suddenly overnight. He doesn't become bad. So this he just keep like your points open about him. Like there will be a point in this season where maybe we again have a Salah and Haaland draft, and we are seeing the fixture run for them moving into the good direction. I think from fiscal week 12 or 13 onwards, we both like Liverpool and Salah fixtures, Liverpool and City fixtures. So that might be a area of the season when we are having both, or maybe that time might come early if he kicks the ground running from get go. Any calls out? Like your thoughts on Haaland?
no, I think he will return 20 plus goal season, in my opinion. And considering he stays fit throughout the entire season, and I think last season he also had, I mean, with the entire team's form like dipping, and I think he was injured for a brief amount of time as well. So I think even then he scored 22, which is just insane. So he will
Yeah.
return. It's just about will you break your bank for him, or how will it work? I mean, I was having this inclination to also go with Wirtz instead of Salah, because this season I feel Salah might return less than 20 goals, because with Ekitike and Wirtz coming in, we have more options in the Liverpool attack, and that could be a possible option. But you never know. I mean, we've already discussed we can't doubt Salah ever, so you never know. He comes up with 20 plus
Yeah.
goals again. So yeah,
I think that's a fair shout, and that could be the theme of the season. So I would not like just disregard that particular fact. It's just a different way of approaching the game,
yeah,
and obviously it could be the standout theme. Like you never know whatever we plan in the preseason, that usually does not turn out that way.
yeah.
Yeah, talking about Liverpool, like let's move to Isak. So it's still unclear whether he's going to join Liverpool or not. The rumor suggests he is going to. He probably is going to put an official request also. But if you just look at his stats, like shots on target in the game, 1.48. So every game he's almost looking like scoring. Like, and we know even from an eye test angle, like when we are looking him play, we know that any chance that comes to him might turn into a goal. Given whatever is circling around him, one thing that is quite weird is like his ownership. And this is 31%. It's slightly dipped to 30%, but he is very highly owned. And that currently baffles me because you're not sure where, like if he goes to Liverpool or Newcastle. And with similar scenarios that have played out in past, a player of Isak who's probably not training with the first team right now, he takes couple of games to get into the squad also. So he's probably not getting those minutes initially, even if he has it at Liverpool or at Newcastle, because they'll obviously go with that caution. And I think we might be seeing this transfer maybe like a deadline day or maybe a day before that happening, because the way things are moving slowly. I know Sesko is now moving to United, so Newcastle has to also figure out a backup plan. So all these things are just making like him a very go with caution and currently to avoid pick as well. If you look at the fixture also, Aston Villa, Liverpool, although he's a fixture proof player, last season there was a stretch when in 18 games he had 18 goals. So that was his highlight of the season. He scored 23 goals in all, so that was zero point 0.7 goals per 90. And XGI, if you look at his XGI, is almost close to the XGI. I got the goals close to his XGI only. So everything, like he ticks all the right boxes for the striker and an FPL pick to have in your squad. It's just that uncertainty where he will be, and obviously he's a slightly injury prone player also, so may miss a game or two, and you'll always be worrying about like closer to deadline whether to start him or like move his funds around. So that's a quick thought around him, but obviously he's a good pick if we are certain about where he's going to land at.
Right, but I mean, like in general, this question is for you guys, Varun and Asura. Let's say, do you guys think that Liverpool needs Isak with Ekitike's signing? Do you think? I mean, with
Not a must
the
have.
yeah, with Ekitike and Words, I think the attack is fairly sorted. And I was also looking at stats of Isak and comparing stats of Isak and Ekitike. They're pretty similar in terms of their styles of play. So, what do you think would have been the rationale behind them going like, or even thinking about considering like signing Isak after they signed Ekitike? It was pretty surprising to me.
With Ekitike, something that stand out is obviously like he's a proven striker when we are talking about Bundesliga. Last season, he was in Bundesliga team of the season. I think he scored around 15 goals. His XG is also similar, 0.77 per 90. So obviously the right metrics that you're looking at from like let's say he's above those thresholds. Yes, he is. But there was another chatter around and like the people who were uh, like journalists who were cautious about this particular move were that his conversion rate is pretty poor. It's around 30 to 42% in most of the games. So he gets a lot of chances. So what we are getting here is not very similar to Isak, but similar to Nunes. But how he obviously adapts to that particular situation and steps up to the opportunity that he's got, that is where he will be key. I'm also I don't see where Liverpool are planning like the structure with him. He could play on the left flank, but if he is signed, then obviously there will be one of the other person getting compromised from his position. Obviously, right now we're looking at whether Soboslai or McAllister position is in jeopardy with Wits, and maybe Gakpo starting on the left. Ekiteke could be tried in that role. but it's yeah, you'll be having too many good players in a position you fight, and that calls for caution of an unsettling environment. But that's down to Slot how he wants to handle. But given if like any team hiring top talents, you would not say no. It's obviously for a long term, not for just the next upcoming season. So yeah, on that mark, I would like it. But yeah, maybe just not yet if like situation is like that. So if there is
Yeah.
clarity,
Also,
that obviously helps the squad.
yeah. Also, I think we have currently three forwards only: Salah, Ekitike, and Gakpo. Words can play the false nine, but we still need one. I feel. Now,
Yeah.
would it be Isak? I would be happy if Isak comes to
I
Liverpool.
mean, military cut Nunes is doing some wonders. You
Oh
never know. I
yeah,
mean, he's still there. You haven't sold
but
him yet, so
No, it's
I think
but I
both
confirmed.
think
the
the
deal
Just
talks
agreed.
got
talks
it's
confirmed.
yeah,
confirmed. Is it
almost. I
confirmed?
mean, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
no,
think it's
it
not
was
confirmed
just
as such, but the probability is
no.
high.
He has been heavy good, I think.
Oh,
I
he
think.
has been. Here we go.
Yeah, I think I just read the clubs have agreed with Al Hilal, so I
Yeah,
think it
Agreement in
moved through.
principle. Yep.
Yeah, agreement in principle, right?
the contract details are being sorted. Soon to be heavy good.
I hope
Oh
we hear the
yeah,
same
here
for
we
Cisco
go.
also.
Fab
53
has
million plus add-ons.
30 minutes before Fab has tweeted. It's here we go for
Okay,
Nunes.
okay,
So
that's
while we
good.
were doing this pod,
That's some money for Isak, but not full. Okay. Anyway, let's move to Watkins. We've spoken about him in the previous slide, so I won't spend a lot of time. I think he's a template pick, fixture screen that you should get onboarded with him. I think he's the 9 million pick who is kind of making my draft look stable and obviously becoming a template pick. The ownership is 11%, but I think it has increased to 15% as we speak right now. So all like ticking all the boxes. If Aston start the way they left the last season, I think it's a good place to have Watkins in your squad, a very reliable and a consistent player. So obviously going to deliver on the expectations over there. With Gyökeres, I mean, when he was first signed, when I looked at his XG, I was like, oh my God, he scored 54 goals last season, XG of almost one. Like we can already see that XG of 1.21, 2.57 shots on target, but obviously in a like a less competitive Portugal league. But all these numbers scream of a very good talent. I mean, I know a lot of clubs had him on their radar. And considering now he's moved to Arsenal, who were lacking an out and out striker, it's a pretty good signing. But again, in the preseason 2 games, we haven't seen much. Um, we haven't seen him in coming into those goal scoring position, getting those big chances. So still, and could be also rotating with Havertz when we are starting with the season. So that's a word of caution. Any thoughts you guys have on
Like
Gyökeres?
he's already a template pick, almost 24%, like more than 24% ownership at the moment.
Yeah,
And for the right reasons, I suppose. People are excited. There's Arsenal fans who are so excited about him finally getting that, out and out striker. I would suggest a word of caution. He's like somebody you would want to watch for a few games, and always you can, bring in the player if he hits the ground running. Even today, in one of the friendlies against Villarreal, he started the game, played for 63 minutes, had two shots, one on target, no goal. So I'd say he's still a wait and watch for me as of now. I would not probably start uh, with him in the beginning itself. But I'll probably, for me, Watkins provides that structural security wherein if Gyökeres starts performing better than Watkins, I can easily switch Watkins to Gyökeres.
yeah, I think looking at this, just these premium forwards, like Watkins seems like a no-brainer looking at the fixtures, right? I mean, Haaland has the issue of the high price thingy. Isak has the issue of where he's going to be, but also the fixtures are not as easy as Watkins is. I personally am not going to jump on the Gyökeres bandwagon from the get-go. I'm going to bide my time and then see how it progresses. So yeah, I mean, let's see.
And Bowen is one pick
Yeah.
who you sort of always know will take along. He
I
will
have him.
always get you
I
that
have,
score.
I have him in
Yeah.
my draft. Yeah,
And it's always that somehow you think that you're gonna avoid him starting into your team,
yeah.
maybe, and somehow it just doesn't always end up in your team at the right moment. Like by the time you get him in, he's already scored
Already
a
scored.
good few goals.
Yeah.
So I would not, turn people away from Bowen. Like he's a very strong pick. The fixtures are there. He can score in them. But again, I would probably again, I'm probably going to make that mistake again of not going with Bowen.
Yeah, even he's also like Salah for Liverpool. Like in terms of the goal share, he has
He's
a
a
huge goal
talisman.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the number of goals that West Ham scores, and they have Burnley as their first fixture, and then later on also they have like okay fixture. And again, Bowen is a fixture-proof player in my opinion. He can score against anyone, so
Yeah.
it's very difficult to like undermine him. So let's see. I have him in my first loose draft. I hope my loose draft kind of remains the same, and I keep him. Let's see.
Right, right, right.
Just few Gyökeres stats. So I was just reading down. He takes 2.7 shots per goal. So that's like, and is already shots on target in each match. If you're looking for 90s, 2.57. So it's like you are expecting a very high conversion. Where if you look at a similar price point of Watkins or Ekitike, if you are looking at, that is where the word of caution. And in one of the recent discussion with Arteta, one of the journalists asked him about whether the penalty duties are going to stay with Saka or not, and where he mentioned that they are thinking like it's for Gyökeres to convince them. So he's like open to that particular pointer as well. Whereas so he has a very good conversion rate there as well. So if like he's sorted with that penalty aspect, I think then and we get that clarity before we move to game week one, then I think most of the people are going with a double off of Watkins and Gyökeres because then it will make sense because you are getting value for the that million that you are spending extra.
But the question is, will you trust Arteta?
Yeah, the question is, will we trust Arteta? All right, let's move to our mid-price forward section where the price band is 7 to 7.5 million. And this is the most talked about section because it's very hard to pick the right pick or like the right combination of maybe two 7.5s, which is becoming a constant theme across templates right now. We have picks like of Solanke, Chris Wood, Pedro, Visa, and obviously Van Nilsson. Three of them, if I talk about from the last season, Chris Wood, Pedro, and Visa, they clearly outperformed their metrics. If I talk about the XG, Chris Wood was one of the shining overperformer as we just saw in the previous slide. Pedro again after his move to Chelsea. The moment I think the move was announced and after his performance in the Club World Cup, it explains the high ownership that he is having right now. He also kinds of have a shot on target per game, so there's obviously a chance every game that he scores. The one thing that attracts him the most in the current run of fixture that is starting, he's starting with Leeds and Brighton and Wolves. All three fixtures is something where he can score and could be a brace, could also give an attacking return. Won't be getting beyond the penalties duties because obviously Palmer is there, so that is one aspect of him gone away. But as when we looked at the first 19 game weeks of last season, there were no penalty, and then he clearly outperformed those metrics there as well. So he's also a good converter in that lens, half pick chances. We've seen him scoring late there as well. The only word of caution is minutes per start. He has been an injury prone player also, but although getting better in shape when we look at the last season. But the only thing is the minutes could be shared in the second half with Liam Delap. Nicholas Jackson seems to be moving away, so that is only the word of caution. But otherwise, if we get some assurance around his minutes, I think there's only one friendly left for Chelsea to play now. Might not give us a complete picture because I believe both of them will feature there. But if barring that, if we don't see any concern about minutes, then I think he could be a lock in most of the teams as well. With Chris Wood, we mentioned like Ilanga has left, so and also doing the same over performance that he did last season is very challenging. It's always a question mark whether you can perform the same or not. But again, people are trusting with the fixture run that Nottingham are having. It's kind of a triplet theme that I'm seeing across team with one of their defenders in Murillo or Milenkovic, probably Anderson, or either double up with Sells, and then Chris Wood is also there in quite a few drafts now. It's like his form, like this overperformance did like slightly degrade, like he regressed to the mean back, but it was still like he still outperformed all these metrics. Like if we are seeing point 0.4 xg, it's like he's actually getting a goal or a return each game, right? So that's a good factor when you are considering him in your team. With
I,
Solanke, the good part, yes, Vimash,
yeah, I
you
think he
want to?
scored in one of the preseason friendlies too, right? Wood.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
yes, only
yeah,
one goal, but
yeah. So he's let's
But
see how his
don't
season
expect
starts.
him. Yeah, don't expect him to score 20 goals. I think he'll come back to his mean, which is around 15 to 18.
But
which
with
is
Good,
which is
you
still
also
good.
have a safety of penalties as well. So
Yeah.
that's there. I think he has a good record there as well. All right.
Uh,
So with Solanke, obviously now with the new manager, everyone are expecting him to perform on a higher level than what he did last season. His XGI numbers is comparable to the other striker on these lists, but he's underperformed these numbers last season, and it was consistent theme when we looked at the first half of the season and the second half as well. The fixture run is so good that everyone kind of like I see the ownership says 14% and probably might be 15% when we are recording this. But on if you are in the communities where there are like discussion around templates and it looks like he's 80% owned right now. So that's how the trade-off is. Could be a very good differential when we are going to the season because they're starting the game with very easy fixture run. Then City could be a tough one, but then again till game week 6 they have a very easy run where he could probably get a attacking return each game again. With Visa, I'm not particularly tempted, even though from game week 3 onward the fixture run is still decent. The the way like players like Nogard, and Bumo have left the squad, it is becoming very difficult. And there have been murmurs around that he's also looking for a move now, which Brentford are forcing not to allow him because he's the only pivotal player or like a key player if you look at the Premier League striker pool left in their squad. So that is the only challenge here. Like he also ticks all the attacking boxes, but if we are going with him, he might be like the sole creator and everything needs to go with him. The only standout player could be Sade now, and Damsgaard, but who scored today as well in the friendly. But other than that, I'm not seeing him lot in the draft. Like he's not giving those same encouraging signs. Maybe once we start into the season and he again we are seeing him and again in the all the right position because if I see his stats, he has like 5.4 shots in the box each game. So that's one key highlight that like even half chances he's trying to shoot every time. So and that's with Bumo in the picture as well. Bumo obviously tries these shots outside the box. He has much more percentage outside the box. But with Visa, you get that potential obviously there. But his threat from like the set play delivery and everything because of Mbumo departure goes down.
Just
Most
to play,
importantly, he had the highest double-digit hauls.
yeah.
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 Hits.
And also just to play devil's advocate over there, it's Brentford. We thought the same when Tony left, but Brent Visa came into the picture. I think they have something with striker. The striker gets the chances and they score goals.
We
But
can
it was
understand
Thomas
your
Frank.
love for Brentford,
But it
Mbumo.
was Thomas Frank, guys. Like,
But
he's
I think
not. He's no
similar.
longer there.
But yeah, similar. I think within the same. I think coach has someone. I think defensive coach has replaced
Yeah.
the Thomas Frank, right? So I think he
Yeah.
knows the system. He knows what advantages each player holds, and I think he'll play according to the advantages.
Also with Solanke, I think I mean I'm not too sold on him. I mean I'll probably just wait, even though his fixtures are good. The management has changed, but I mean
I
I
think
would
he
say
hasn't yet played in a friendly, right? He's
I
still
don't
Yet
out.
to feature.
I don't think
Yet
And
to
so.
by the
feature.
way, I just checked his ownership has dropped to 12.5%
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, even with Son's departure, and I mean, even though he didn't have a
Madison's
good season
injury.
last time, Son still had some like, based on his standards, poor numbers, but still some decent numbers compared to other midfielders. So, and Madison is gone. So there's only Kudus left, who's an awesome dribbler, but it'll be totally up to him to provide those kind of like assists to probably
He's not a
Solanke.
creator. We
If
seen
he's on
in the
penalties, then
midfield.
that'll be, I believe he is. That'll be one good thing. But apart from that, I'll again bide my time and see how he starts the season.
So the potential with both Visa and Solanke being on penalties has increased now with Mbomo and Son departure. So that is one point to consider when that could be an upside point, which people may or may not be noticing right now. But there is no standout with Madison also injured right now. I don't see anyone standing out. Kudus getting those duties right away. I don't think that's going to be a thing. And other than Kulusevski is there, Richarlison might feature because of the current
Johnson.
injuries. Yeah,
Yeah,
Brennan Johnson, but he's not like if you say who's the star boy of Spurs right now, everyone will point it out Solanke right now.
Yeah.
Like he's the feature of them. All right. Any other thing? Yeah, Ivan Nilsson. Lastly, we know he was like when we looked at our initial metrics, these number XGI and XG are high. One good pointer, what you want to add in the penalties fund?
No, it's just a basic one. It's just that he was the player who won the highest number of penalties last season. He won 5 penalties last season. That probably might also explain the reason why his XA delta is high. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's one key insight that he's always active in the box, like always doing that stuff that probably can win penalty for his side. He's been on the duties, but on and off they've been switching when who is on the pitch. It's very tricky for when we are deciding for Bournemouth. But if you look at XGI number is high, but again he underperformed this XGI again when we looked at it last season. So this is one place where like the fixture wise it screamed that you should go with Evanilson. You will save that point 0.5 that can be used elsewhere. But I would still say it feels like a slight trap to me because we've seen him underperform. You'll probably have to hold him for 5 games to at least get 3 attacking returns, wherein when you're picking any other of these players in that same bracket, it could be 5 attacking returns in 5 games. So that's the upside you get. And obviously, I see going against Ivan Nilsson is still fine because if you have to tackle EO also at the end of the day, you will look at these 4 players rather than just Ivan Nilsson in that
Right.
bracket.
And if you want to pick someone from Bournemouth, pick Semenyo. He has more, I think, maximum touches in the box as well as shots.
Correct.
Let's move to next section then.
Yep. Right. So this is the budget and the third place striker position. Again, it's very key. Depends. This also kind of decides what structure you are going in. So if you are going with a 9 mil, 7.5, and then a cheap striker, it could be any of these, right? 6.5 to 4.5 depends on how you are liking and how you are perceiving how they're going to start the season. With Welbeck, Pedro has left. He's competition from Rutter. Ferguson has left. So only one competition. And Rutter also post his signing last season didn't shine that well. And Welbeck, whenever he's given a chance, I think he's shined. Like whenever we see him playing, he's there somewhere or the other in like goal contributions. With the fixture run also, it's nice, but I still feel with Brighton, their form is very inconsistent, and overall, like whether they start playing in an attacking sense, Hosler has never been like he is the one manager where I'm not kind of understood what game plan he's planning. It's kind of adapting to each game. Like with top six, we've seen him having low blocks, sitting on the fence and then playing counter. Whereas against side like which are middling sides, he goes all out attack as well. So those are the fixture where you can target. So obviously Fulham speaks of that fixture. Maybe Bournemouth also, Spurs also speaks of that fixture. But again, other sides you might see a different gameplay over there. So when you're holding him from Welbeck, it could be a headache as well because in the fixtures, when you are trying him and like other 6.5 mils are scoring and he's not, and that has been a theme when I briefly owned him last season for a couple of games and I saw those were easy game, but then he was nowhere to be seen. So it is a trade-off with him that he might score in the games that you're not expecting. So we obviously pick or balance our squad with these kind of price point just looking at the fixtures. And even if they don't deliver on those angles, then it becomes an headache and we start rotating them a lot. With Stan Larsen, I think he's one of my favorite pick in this 6.5 bracket right now. With Cunha leaving, he's the standout striker. There were rumors that he might also leave Wolves, but again, I feel he's delivered in the second half of the season as well in the first half of the season. He overperformed on his XG numbers. He scored, I think, around 14 goals and had 4 assists as well. The only
Yeah.
caution is Cunha was the player that aided him as well, made him a better player overall. Then Eight Nouri was also a player that delivered a lot of crosses to Stan Larsen and Cunha. So that's again an aspect. The good aspect to counter that is that John Arias is signed in the Cameroon. So that could be again an A2 player like Stan Larsen who likes creative midfielder or a strong cam with him. So that kind of opens Wolves to discussion
And
and like
penalties, I think.
subject to, yeah, the penalties is an add-on advantage
Yeah.
now with it.
One important point is last season, all his goals were open play goals, right? He had no
Yes.
penalty goals. He had 15 goals, all from open play. So add to that, if he gets
Good to know.
penalties now, he could if he does well, he could easily reach a 15 to 20 goal tally this season. So
So
yeah.
I'm slightly biased for him because for last 8 games of the season I had him and he scored around 6 or 7 goals in that run. So had a very strong finish. Um, Outperformed obviously what we were expecting from him. So that's obviously there.
Yeah, and his first game
Bit of
week
a
is
tough,
not
bit
that.
of a tough start, no, for them. Like
Hmm.
Manchester City
Yeah.
first game
No,
week,
but
then they
s-
do Bournemouth away, Everton and Newcastle. Maybe for
Yeah,
game week 5, the fixture really turn for the next 5 to 6 game weeks. But
yeah.
yeah,
I had a complete
In the mid
opposite
half
thought.
of the first season.
I had a complete opposite thought. Since it's City and they're still trying to settle, I think Wolves at least score once, and it could be
I
Larson.
think Wolves are themselves trying to figure out things with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who's going to be their goal
most
scorer?
important players leaving.
Yep, yep. Fair point.
All right. Then we have Beto. So Everton, I don't preferably like them as a very attacking side. I've seen them struggle a lot with Calvert-Lewin. There are always phases of player that are coming up, scoring goals for them. I think they massively underperformed their XG, which was already very low, and they did not even hit those targets. So with Beto, that is only the word of caution. People are liking because it seems like there might not be any competition to him in that position and could be a minute security. But other than that, I think the minute security, he obviously has a decent XG, but obviously he did not do that well last season. I think he scored around 3 goals in the second half of the season, which is again not screaming. And they didn't come in the fixture that you would highly expect from. One was a headed goal in the last minute of the game. So like kind of in the clutch situation, you might expect him to score. But if you're looking at consistency, I think the first two in Welbeck and Larson are the picks to go. Any thoughts on Beto or like
Yeah, just his ownership, it's still like kind of like around 15%. Pretty surprised to see that, but yeah,
I
I
think
think
their
that's
manager
partially owing
said,
to the fact that he's 5.5. So yeah,
yeah, I think their manager is not that happy with Beto, right? I heard some
yeah.
news from somewhere.
So
Yeah,
last match of the preseason, Moyes clearly mentioned that he expects a lot from Beto. And when asked about what angles are you expecting, he's like just the goal efficiency, being in the player. Like it were general holistic view of a striker that you expect. So could be like he's replaced with Barry, who's just signed for them. So that's also a thing to consider there.
right.
All right. So in 5.5, he like Joel Pero, one of my key picks right now, and I'm currently having him in my um, playing squad as well. I like the fixture run as well, and the fact that he was one of the standout performance in the championship last season. He had around 17 or 19 goals last season. Creative also. Won a lot of penalties for them. There were 4 penalties that he won there as well. Gets has a good partnership with the team structure in the attacking side, staying same with Daniel James over there. So overall, he might not be like that proven player or that standout pick that just blasts the season from the minute go, but he's obviously that player that should be into consideration. And if you look at his heat map or touch map of the season, he's always in and around that box. His touches in the box for per 90 is around 7, and his shots on the box is also around 4. So, which is a good number when you're looking at Joel Pero from an attacking lens. Even I know Leeds, when they're going into the season, they've not strengthened like Sunderland, but obviously he's a pick that can be played out in the games when they are having easy fixture, and could be like a Bamford like season also like guys. And where he's getting those snatching those clutch goals where when we need a player like him to get a green arrow in a particular league.
Yeah,
As per the market odds currently, it's Burnley and Leeds who are most likely to go down at the end of this season back into the
Hmm.
Championship League.
yeah,
So, they are going to be the whipping boys for the whole season, at least at the start, unless we see something different. So, there's again, for me, it's not easy to get fully behind Pero, although I really like the player for the FPL draft. But, again, like we don't know how teams end up performing when they get promoted to the league, especially they've not, since they've not really strengthened. Another thing is that, his shot conversion, is not amazing, not
Hmm.
at par with the other players we're looking at here.
Right.
So, Ward, again, like for me, he's a good enabler if he starts scoring in at least the easier fixtures.
yeah. I'm not surprised that in the list of teams that are gonna go down at the end of this season, Sunderland is not there with their signings. I mean, Adingra, I think Granit Xhaka is back, and then Giu they've signed. So I think they're kind of building a very, I won't say an exceptional team or something, but I think a mid mid-table team kind of. I expect decent things from Sunderland with the way they are like setting up. So
So
let's see.
would you be interested in,
Adingra.
Gio in your Gio? I
If
mean,
he
we're
starts, if he's a
talking of
confirmed starter, I
forwards.
would definitely keep him there. Yes, I would
So
keep him
with
as
with
a-
Mark Gui and there's a pointer there that Chelsea has put in a clause that he needs to get a certain number of game time. So that
Right.
puts pressure that he well could be a feature in their team because if not, then that's breaking the clause, and I think that they'll cause for additional pay to Chelsea, which Sunderland would not want.
Yeah, I think
But
the
it could be the
Trap is just
subs.
looking for, yeah, I think he's just looking for playing time because he started off with Barcelona. He didn't get any playing time there. He came to Chelsea. He didn't get any playing time there. So that's why probably they have the clause there. Yeah, you go on,
But
Suraj.
he's
Yeah,
been
it could
very
be
highly
just
spoken
subs.
about.
Yeah.
I can obviously go with him and not worry about and might feature start kicking in that team because Sunderland from an entire view of things, they are getting strengthened in all of the places. Do you guys want to last rate our top three picks and probably let's
Before
look at
that,
that?
I want to call out a couple of other picks who might
Yeah,
become, some interesting ones, given certain things change. So within, sub 6.5 bracket, you have a certain Raul Jimenez, which we were absolutely forgotten to mention. Like, he had a subpar kind of a season. He had a lot of chances, failed to convert most
Still
of
did
them.
12 goals, right?
Still at
Yeah.
12 goals,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I mean, if he is able to improve his goal conversion, he becomes a very, very good pick in that Fulham team who don't have actually a very tough run in the start. They have a decent run. Then you've got Fulkrug from West Ham, who's been having a good preseason with West Ham and Graham Potter. So let's, how Potter sets up the West Ham system, whether it's a two-man forward, two striker system with Fulkrug and Bowen right there. So he could also become, one consideration. And then if Vissa chooses to move from Brentford, then they have another striker in the waiting, which is Thiago, and
yeah.
who was at 6 million, and he becomes an amazing pick in that Brentford team. 6 million of
Fulkrug
certain
is also
stuff.
6, right?
Fulkrug is also
I
six.
think that's a,
Yes.
I think in my personal opinion, that's a bit too high for him considering we haven't seen much from him. Like he should be
Yeah.
somewhere around a 5.5 forward. But yeah, I mean, even
Last season.
Thiago is 6. So that's a
Correct,
bit,
correct. Yeah.
yeah, a bit
I
pricey.
mean, our 7.5 was also tight to pick, but Vimarsh was pushing me to put Mateta, and like Suraj says, he's Mateta curious as well. So
Yeah.
that's one player we.
I am
I'm
I am
I'm
fully considering Mateta for my team, to be very honest. Like
30
even
goals in the
yeah,
last 2 seasons, right, Suraj?
even in the start. I
exactly.
mean, even in the
Exactly.
start. Not
Like
sure whether
he's been performing consistently. Same with Watkins. He has been performing consistently since last 3 years. And after it, I'm comfortable with Mateta having in my
Yeah,
team.
I think
But
we are
one more
undermining Crystal Palace a lot also. I mean, they had
yeah.
the highest scoring season ever in their league history last year, like last season, 53 points. So they've done a good season and they're still looking strong in the preseason friendlies
yeah,
as well. So they
yeah.
might not be, I mean, below average or subpar team or even an average team now. They might now be a team to look at. Like they could score against anyone now, right? So,
Right.
so,
All right,
but
let's start
Anyway,
the
yeah.
ranking, guys.
yep,
We are into that section and the last leg of
of
Striker
our
Pod.
dicey.
This time we'll reverse it. Let's start from Aman.
Sure.
But one standout call out that Aman mentioned around Mateta, it was not in our picks, but should be.
Yeah.
My consideration was of not picking that I feel like Eze could be one of the exit that Crystal Palace is. He's been heavily linked with multiple clubs within Premier League and outside Premier League as well. So that was just one consideration and just the appeal of other 7.5s or higher. And we had to pick five, but that's the call out there.
No worries. Like I had to still mention. See, so for now, I'll just say the top three picks, and I'll pick one across each of these, three price brackets or differentiations. So for me, it's Watkins in the premium, and I'll pick Mateta in the mid-priced, and I'll go with Welbeck, or no, I'll rather maybe go with Strand Larson for my budget forward.
Hmm.
A shout.
Nice.
Go ahead,
Vimash.
Vimash.
Is it my turn? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So with the premium ones this time, for now I'll go with Bowen. For the mid-priced picks, I would go with Wood, and for the budget picks, I would go with Stan Larson.
Yeah. For me, it would be Watkins or Isaac, but Watkins for the price at 9. For mid-budget, it would be Visa or Mateta. I'm still confused whom to pick. Mostly I'll choose Mateta, but Brentford striker is good to have. And then at the end, it would be Strand Larson.
Okay. So my choice is like premiums, obviously it's Watkins. And if Gyökeres is sure on penalties and starting, then I think I might have this as Watkin Gyökeres double up, compromising bit of my team elsewhere. But that is very exciting. The second fixture is very tempting against Leeds of Arsenal.
Gives you a
And
captain also in that week.
yeah, yeah, solid captain pick. Um, gives an Arsenal cover overall because I am not looking at their defense primarily. Very difficult to pick in right now. Then within 7.5, I am not that Mateta curious, but I am very much Pedro and Solanke curious. With Visa, I just mentioned I don't see Brentford hitting that numbers this season. Thomas Frank is an exceptional manager who just lifted this side, so he might struggle with an overall thing and might take some time to hit the ground running there as well. Wood is also intriguing, but for some reason, I feel like we might see some normalcy there. All other picks I don't much like, but Solanke and João Pedro, I'm just been tinkering between them. Like, just give me some piece of information that I pick one over the other. That is where I am at. And in 6.5 in these section,
And
I've only look at Strand Larson and Pirro. Other than that, I'm not even considered or even tinkered of anyone else. But Welbeck is decent, but yeah, these are the picks I've kind of looked
So
at.
clearly, it seems like all of us are going to have Watkins and Strand Larson in our teams.
I have
Yeah,
I
could.
have neither as of now in my current draft, but let's see.
He will convince you.
He will convince you. Let's see.
Okay, guys.
All right, so this brings us to the end of the trilogy, the Pulse Talk trilogy of defensive midfielders and the attacking pod. I hope we gave you a lot of information to help you with your decision. I know sometimes it feels like even we are even confused and argumenting each other, which is a better pick there. But that's the fun of discussing and clearing out those doubts and bringing the correct pointers out. So lastly, just wanted to mention we are growing. We have also uploaded our defensive pod, midfield pod is going out tonight, and please subscribe and hit the bell icon if you don't want to miss any update. We'll be putting content each week. We are just 10 days, less than 10 days from the FPL season, and each game week you'll be seeing feature from our teams. The next series that we are going to put forward is about our drafts. One by one, all four of us, maybe you'll see two of us on a particular pod together and discussing our draft. We'll be also rating your drafts, and we finally plan to do a deadline stream if like all four of us are available for the FPL season to kickstart with. At least we can do one of that. But yeah, any last call out from you guys?
No,
No,
guys, just please like the video, those to give us a subscribe, and yeah, we'll
Press
keep
the
on
bell
bringing some,
icon.
and yeah, keep bringing good stuff to you.
perfect. See you next pod.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Bye.